Finally, America did it. We finally did it. We got that $2 trillion package passed. Democrats and Republicans. Republicans and Democrats and Republicans. Finally, we actually get to work on something. We got something passed. $2 trillion spending bill. Man, this is going to help. What is everybody going to do with their money? I'm taking my $1,200. I'm going to buy all the Treasury bills and mortgage-backed securities I can get. How many Treasury bills and mortgage-backed securities you going to get with your pittance, huh? With your candy corn, with your $1,200 bucks. It's March 28, 2020, Saturday. It only took about 4 months to finally pass the bill, do something about this thing. So we're going to go ahead. We're going to give $100 billion, right, with this $2.2 trillion, $2.2 trillion spending package, and then this $500 billion is going to go to some commercial paper factory for the Fed, and then that $500 billion actually is going to get inflated up to $4.5 trillion. So $4.5 trillion for the Federal Reserve and the commercial paper factories to bail out the plutocracy, the oligarchy, the kleptocracy. $500 billion, $4.5 trillion for the Fed, and we give $100 billion to the hospitals during the coronavirus outbreak. What's the Fed going to do with the $500? They're going to find a cure? They're going to get a vaccine for $500 billion? $500 billion. And they said that they could do tricks which multiply it tenfold, which would make it, actually $5 trillion there. But the 1%, right? They got 1,000 they need to save. The oligarchy, the plutocracy, the 1%. I mean, the 1%, they're the better half. Does America need right now this coronavirus quarantine? Do we need the commercial paper factory? Do we need the Federal Reserve? Going to pay the Federal Reserve $500 billion, make Steve Mnuchin the most powerful man on the planet. And just as an aside, America, you do realize that we have a fractional banking reserve system, and the fractional reserve system encourages banks to use most of your deposits as investments. Banks invest your checkings and your savings. When you think you put the money into the bank and it stays put until you spend it, no, 10% is all banks have to keep on hand, meaning as soon as 90% of your deposits go into the bank, then the bank takes it to buy oceanfront property and other corporations and other bullshit land deals and foreclosing on poor. I mean, this is, right now, the bank's got to make some money. So we're going to make sure that, banks have liquidity. We need at least $4.5 trillion worth of liquidity. And then, in order to get some liquidity, get the big banks with the money, foreclose on as many Americans as possible, right? You pass out these crap bank loans, and then you got foreclose on them, and then you got to take that property back. That's the whole point of a mortgage-backed security. It's secure because it's got a mortgage that's right behind it. It's a mortgage-backed security. So this only encourages banks to use most of your deposits for investments. We have a fractional reserve system right now. But banks are our future. We need to invest in our banks. Where would we be without the banks? $500 billion? Okay, here's $100 billion for hospitals. Okay, America, coronavirus, healthcare, blah, blah, blah. Here's $100 billion for healthcare in the hospitals. And then here's $500 billion to make yourself a commercial paper factory. Hell yeah. As a billionaire, we get to buy all this cheap commercial paper. My God, this is a billionaire's wet dream. We get some liquidity in this fractional reserve system, this GDP-dominated U.S. economy, not protected by the Glass-Steagall Act, so thanks a lot, Bill Clinton. But I'm going to buy up all the commercial paper I can get. I mean, you're going to make $500 billion. You're going to invest $500 billion in a commercial paper factory. You better hope somebody comes in and buys you, some of that cheap-ass commercial paper. Finally, some cheap-ass commercial paper. People want to invest in Federal Reserve notes, Why invest in a Federal Reserve note when you could just invest in a commercial paper, which is essentially just an IOU written on a piece of paper? Hey, here's an IOU. Here's $10 worth of IOUs. Now, can I have that real money? Can you give me some of them greenbacks? Some of those Federal Reserve notes? I got a fever, and the only prescription is more Federal Reserve notes. So yeah, that is actually, you should invest in the greenbacks and treasury bonds and mortgage-backed securities if you got the money. They're perfect investments. The lazy bums, if they don't pay their mortgage, they got to pay you no matter what. If they pay you, you make money, right? You give out a mortgage, they pay you every month, you're making money. If they stop paying you, then you take your property back. You can't lose. If you're the bank and you have a mortgage back, you cannot lose. Jesus Christ. Who gives a fuck about this coronavirus bullshit? Just make sure they pay that fucking mortgage. America, you better pay that goddamn mortgage. I know you're sick. I know you got the coronavirus. You lost your job. But you better pay that mortgage because Uncle Sam just empowered investment banks all across America to buy up anything and everything that they get their goddamn greedy fucking paws on. What was it, 5 million Americans lost their homes under Obama? Just 5 million, right? As long as the banking system held up and as long as they got to sell a bunch of cheap American land out to the highest foreign bidder. So you should buy some greenbacks, treasury bonds, mortgage-backed securities. Maybe, I don't know. They might be pushing those crap securities. Don't buy treasury bonds or mortgage. Buy a bunch of greenbacks, buy a bunch of silver and gold, and get yourself some Bitcoin and assets. Building land, shit like that. Silver and gold and Bitcoin. Fuck these, stocks and bonds and shit, mutual funds and whatnot. They just, pieces of paper. Diverse your portfolio, create a firewall. You got to hedge your bets, right? You got silver and gold and Bitcoin and greenbacks. And then also, as a billionaire, as one billionaire to another, watch the stock market very, very carefully. I'm waiting for the stock market to bottom out because as soon as the stock market crashes, I'm going to go in, I'm going to snatch all that cheap blue stocks. Those blue chip stocks that I can afford. I'm going to pull a U.S. senator, right? Buy all that stock, dump it, right before it fucking crashes, make millions of dollars just like that California representative. What's her name? Claire McClaskill. $14 trillion in liquidity, huh? So I might need a bailout. Oh, how much you need? No, I need a bailout. This is important, Coronavirus, we're losing our job, the economy's about to crash. So, don't joke around. This isn't a joke. I need a bailout. Well, how much you need? How much do I need? $500 billion? You got $500 billion I can borrow? You got $500 billion that I can expand to $14 trillion or $4.5 trillion in liquidity. You got I just need about $3 or $4 trillion. Just $3 or $4 trillion. So Jesus Christ, 1 million here, 2 million there, 14 trillion in liquidity. We keep talking like this, we're going to start talking about real money. Trillion. So isn't it kind of crazy that, we've had poverty forever, homelessness forever. You got, 35 million Americans and then 80 million Americans with no health insurance or low or underinsured. So you have all these people in America that, don't have a house, don't have a home, living on the street, don't have health care. They're going to get sick and cough the coronavirus everywhere, right? You think getting homeless people off the streets, getting these petri dishes kind of out of, back into a home, put them into a home, keep them out of the streets, Jesus Christ. That's where everybody else is, out in the streets. But we don't worry about that. But the moment that Wall Street is sick, the moment the Dow Jones starts tanking, oh no, the economy is unhealthy, fast. We need to get some UBI. We need some universal health care for Wall Street right now, stat. The economy is sick. The economy, the Dow Jones, Wall Street, we need to get trillions and trillions into the big bankers' pockets as soon as we can. Get Wall Street some universal health care, stat. Get them fat cats in Wall Street some UBI now. They need to put, they need a social safety net. They need a lifeline. Wall Street needs a lifeline. Get them a UBI. They need a nice big social safety net by any means necessary. Total cost be damned. Total cost be damned. How are we going to pay for this Wall Street bailout? Who gives a shit? Who cares? This is not a time to ask questions about how can we pay for things. This is a time where we just spend a shit ton of fucking money. Wall Street is sick. Yeah, I mean, a bunch of people had a poverty death sentence. You've already had that one 17-year-old boy in America get killed because he didn't have health care. Yeah. Hospitals need some money. Okay, here's 100 billion hospitals. There you go, but that's it. That's all you're getting, 100 billion. 100 billion hospitals. Now, we need to get that fed. $500 billion expanded up to $4.5 trillion. I'm sure the Fed, they'll come up with the coronavirus cure. They'll find the vaccine before everybody else and capitalize on it and not give it to anybody, charge $1 million goddamn dollars. That's what the fucking Fed's going to do with our $500 billion commercial paper. Do you even know what commercial paper is? America, you don't even know what commercial paper is. Why would you spend $500 billion on a commercial paper factory? For $500 billion, I want a cure for the coronavirus. I want a cure for AIDS and cancer. And let's have, a colonized mission, a successful colonized mission to Mars. For $500 billion, I want to get the homeless. Every homeless person could get themselves 100 houses. 100 houses. Every homeless person in America could get 100 houses if we gave a shit about the fucking, goddamn fucking homeless people, but they live on the street. They had a bad life, no friends, no family. God, they sunk, right? Some sink, some swim. Some succeed, some people just die out in our streets and freeze to death with, mental diseases and whatever, so shit. $2.2 trillion. $2.2 trillion for Wall Street, right? UBI and universal health care for Wall Street stat. For the top 1,000 wealthiest people of our society, for the plutocracy, the oligarchy, for some corporate oligarchy liquidity scheme, 100 houses per homeless person in the U.S., $2 trillion. Not just the five, we spent $2 trillion on homelessness. We could build 400 houses for every homeless person in America. But we don't care about each other in America. We don't care about each other. We got homeless people. It'd be easy as shit, cheap as fuck compared to this $2 trillion bill to take care of homeless. You'll have the cities and the states blame the federal government. We got homelessness all across America. But instead of solving homelessness, instead of solving poverty with universal basic income or land reform, we're just going to give everybody a single $1,200 check. Here's one-time check of $1,200, a pittance to shut the fuck up. Doesn't help anybody in the U.S. for more than a week or two, but we're going to get $500 billion for the Fed, for the central banks to pass it out to other big-ass banks, so the bigger banks just get, a consolidation of corporate power, just consolidation of the private sector, corporate bailouts. Steve Mnuchin is going to make all his buddies rich. Steve Mnuchin is fucking rich as shit. Steve Mnuchin just got $2 fucking trillion dropped on top of his head. And I was just, as an aside, America, as an aside, we need to give Boeing Airlines $17 billion. Why? What do you mean, why? Just for the fuck of it. Just give Boeing $17 billion. Who gives a shit? Who cares? Let's give $17 billion to Boeing. Let's give the House of Representatives a pay raise. Y'all want to make some more money? Here's some more money. We're going to fuck over the American people, give them a little bit of money, but then we're going to give all of our Wall Street cronies $500 billion. $500 billion. $2 trillion. This shit ain't no joke. Nobody's even asking, how are we going to pay? Hey, $2 trillion? How are we going to pay for this? Who gives a fuck? Who cares? Here's an unlimited blank check. Here's a credit card. Go hog wild. $2 trillion. So let's just compare it to the, economic factors. What's going on in America right now? $23 trillion in total debt. $23 trillion in total debt. We are indebted $23 trillion. $23 trillion. So we're going to add $2 trillion on top of the 23 trillion. That's all Republicans are supposed to be good at, saving money. Republicans are the ones that inflate the debt, and they run these. Right now, our deficit is $1 trillion. So Republicans run these massive $1 trillion deficits, $23 trillion in debt, plus $2 trillion. So now we're $25 trillion in debt. $25 fucking trillion in debt. Who the fuck are we? $25 trillion in debt to? America, we got 500,000 homeless, high child and elderly poverty rate, 15% poverty rate, which means at least 35 million Americans are afflicted with the poverty that is the death sentence that is poverty. Minimum wage is $7.25, still $7.25. 80% of Americans work paycheck to paycheck, and most are just a few paychecks away from poverty and or homelessness to begin with. So our economy is not strong. Giving direct money to the American people would have been better. Just universal basic income until this crisis is over, and then get us universal health care at the end. That's what the fuck we should have done if we were being logical and we wanted to do shit that makes sense. But we're not doing shit that makes sense. $23 trillion now, it's $25 trillion. Fuck it, who cares? Let's just keep on taxing our grandchildren farther and farther. 2.2 trillion coronavirus SARS-2. SARS-2 is back with a vengeance. $23 trillion in total debt. $23 trillion total debt. 15% poverty rate. 500,000 homeless. A bunch of 80 million people with low or no health insurance. And like I said, 80% is working paycheck to paycheck anyway. So most Americans are just 1 or 2 paychecks away from poverty and or homelessness. SARS-2. They didn't even tell us it was SARS. So I get to some of the problems with this thing, but essentially the $2.2 trillion, it doesn't freeze rent, it doesn't freeze mortgages. So you better pay that rent, you better pay that mortgage by the end of March. There's no student loan forgiveness. There's another big-ass bubble that's headed for a bursting. Student loan bubble is just trillions of dollars being driven over a Grand Canyon cliff. You could have really stimulated America. Universal basic income stimulation, universal health care, student loan forgiveness. These are some major things they could have done. But instead, Bernie and the rest and Pelosi all fucking sold out to give Munition fucking $500 billion. $500 billion. Jesus Christ. Come on, America. We can do better. We can do smart. This is ridiculous. $1,200 ain't gonna fucking solve shit. $1,200 ain't gonna solve shit. It might be the slight jolt, the electric paddle right of a heart attack, electrocute this economy, put a jolt of electricity through it, and wake this Frankenstein monster back up. She's talking about another coronavirus fucking bill, but really this is their fucking this is a Frankenstein bill. This is just a, basically half of it's like, no to big government and help the big corporations and the rich people and fuck over the poor, and then the other half is just give money to the poor for doing nothing. So it's like, it's just such a fucking mixture of a bill. Who knows how any of this is going to shake out, but they're, going to put $1,200 in your pocket, so you turn your head and shut the fuck up, and then you don't realize, because if you look at the math, I'll just end it off with this. If you look at the math, $2.2 trillion, let's assume everybody in America gets it. So $2.2 trillion divided by 327 million Americans, which that's not everybody's going to get that much. But so $2.2 trillion divided by the total amount of Americans, $327 million, is $6,700. So we should be given a $6,700 check if you just divided the total amount by every American in the U.S. So our check should be $6,700. It's not bureaucracy and this and that. But instead of $1,200, where's our $5,500? We're going to get $1,200, right, of $6,700, but that leaves $5,500. So what are we spending the bulk of our stimulus on? $5,500 could have gone into our pocket. That's a lot of money. $5,500, that's a bunch of lumber and building materials. That's a well. That's a good used truck. That's a couple of used dirt bikes. That's rent for 11 months in the ghetto in Pueblo, Colorado. 2 years ago, 5 months in Naples, Florida, 10 years ago. $5,500 fucking dollars, you know, we could have invested that smartly. Instead, we allow these banks to invest. Why do banks need to invest? We need to invest. Where are the banks invested? They're trying to fucking make a bunch of profit. Why are our banks making profit? Private banks are trying to make a bunch of fucking profit, and yet here's the Federal Reserve just dumping fucking money on them as if, like, it's incredible. The credit market, so there's Americans that could just get money whenever the fuck they want money. You want money? Go out there and just get, you know, borrow some money from a bank. Here's some credit. Here's some liquidity. And then other people don't get shit. Other people don't get shit. What the fuck is that? That's where the $5,500 went. The $1,200 went to the have-nots, and the $5,500 went to the haves. $5,500 of our money. That's the majority of $6,700, $5,500. It's not just a chunk of change, and it didn't just not go to us, but it went to somebody else to do some other shit, and it's all secret. So who the fuck, you know, who knows what the fuck any of this is gonna, how any of this is gonna really shake out. You know, make sure you pay the government your money, pay the landlords some money, buy a piece or two of Bazooka bubblegum. Once you get a piece or two of Bazooka Joe bubblegum, well, shit, that's about the end of your $1,200 right there. Get a little lick-a-stick or some cotton candy, right? Some gobstoppers and nerds. Once you pay your rent, once you pay your mortgage, once you pay the government, pay the landlord, fuck, you ain't gonna have no, you're gonna have pocket lint left over. So you ain't gonna be buying no treasury bills, you ain't buying no mortgage-backed securities, you ain't buying no commercial paper, you don't even know what the fuck commercial paper is. Get the fuck out of here. Look here, fat, look here, smart guy. Please clap. Please clap.